Okay. Java.
Connection error. Saying one of them is not going live.
All right. No.
I think we are. I think we live.
Yeah.
Okay, shalom, shalom, brothers and sisters.
Shalom.
We are in the closing of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, not the actual High Holy Day, but just for the house of David. All right, so we're just closing here as a congregation, but tomorrow you will continue on until even. All right, so we're just closing it here as a congregation and not tomorrow, but you still have one day left for the feast. All right, so we're still in the feast. I'm not saying it's closed or until tomorrow night. All right, so the Feast of Unleavened Bread. I want to make this more of an open forum. So if you have any scriptures, I don't want to be too long here tonight because we're still in the feast and we still have the feast, right? But we have to make sure that we understand how serious the Feast of Unleavened Bread is, right? Not only spiritually, but physically. And a lot of people, whether, and Ash got into it a little bit, whether you cut sugar or you do different things to see how you feel, right? One thing that I can say for myself, I feel a lot better with the Feast of Unleavened Bread. I think the bloating of the leaven and of the bread, you get a break from that, and I think that this is the first time I'm feeling that, right? So just giving your body a break. Everything comes back new. Everything is in the scriptures. Everything is designed from and by the Most High so you can live here in this earth and move forward, just like the new year just came in, right? The feast, the Passover, and the Feast of Unleavened Bread came in right after that, right? So let's get into some of the scriptures. My name is Ainwa. I really don't have a topic for this class other than we are in the feast day, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, but more so the seriousness of the Passover, right? And why we observe, right? We all know the scriptures here. We understand the seriousness of it, but I want to touch on more of what was going on, right? Around some of the Passovers, obviously we know what happened in Egypt, but as we move through the scriptures, it was a serious thing. There were still a lot of events happening where it was serious, but they were in the Passover. They had to make sure they brought themselves unleavened. There was a lot going on in the nation at that time, right? So with that, we're going to start with reader. When you can get, I'm going to open up with Mark 13 and 32, please. Mark the 13th chapter and the 32nd verse. And if you have scriptures, you can definitely throw them out there if you want to comment. Again, this is an open forum, right? So if it applies, if it's a good scripture, if you're going somewhere with it, you can offer it up. All right.
That book of Matthew, King James Version of the Bible, chapter 13. Up on your mark.
Cut.
My bad. The book of Mark, chapter 13. Verse 32.
Mm-hmm.
But of that day and that hour knoweth no man,
Mm-hmm.
no, not the angels which are in heaven,
Mm-hmm.
neither the Son, but the Father.
And this is Yahushua talking about his second coming, right? Because we're rehearsing the righteous acts for his second coming, right? Go ahead.
Take ye heed, watch and pray,
Mm-hmm.
for ye know not when the time is.
Right. So people say, oh, well, he's not coming back. They're not worried about keeping the Passover. They don't read the scriptures. They don't care. They're living their own life. They're going off of their own mind. But the Most High said that he had a date to return, right? So people aren't going to get religious until it's time to get religious, right? And especially with our people, we don't take heed unto the scriptures. We're caught up in, as you know, they got a Resurrection Sunday tomorrow. They have Easter. They have the paganism part of it, but they don't have the scriptural part, right? We weren't taught these scriptures from the actual ancient Hebraic side of it, right? That's why we're coming back to our culture. So what are we wrapped up in now? We got bunny rabbits. My family, I put in a group chat. My family has a group chat. I put in the group chat maybe 3 or 4 days ago, happy Passover. They came back with happy Easter, right? So whether our people know about the Passover, right, or they don't acknowledge it, or they want Easter, we have to come back to the correct understanding and the correct doctrine. That's why we're teaching to this very day, right? They're talking about Easter egg hunts. Oh, you're gonna go to church and then have a tradition to do an Easter egg hunt. For what? Where did you get this from? Where do we get these vain traditions from? Right? And that's why we have to be prudent and read the scriptures, because the Most High said, read on.
For the Son of Man is as a man taking a far journey.
So Yahweh say he's like a man taking a journey, right? He's leaving off on that journey. Go ahead.
Who left his house
Uh-huh.
and gave authority to his servants.
So he let his servants run his house until he gets back. And what does that mean? You can liken it to keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, right? Telling the people that, hey, the servant, the master of the house will be back at some point, right? That's why we teach. That's why we hit the highways and byways. That's why we keep the law, statutes, and commandments to the best of our ability. Go ahead.
And to every man his work.
To every man his work. Go ahead.
And commanded the porter to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Watch ye therefore, for ye know not when the master of the house cometh.
So we don't know when the master of the house is coming. And in this parable, the Son of Man is on that journey. People don't believe in the journey. They don't know what the journey is, right? They don't care. They're going off of their own mind, right? So they're not worried about the man on the journey. They just in the house, tearing up the house, tearing up the furniture, doing what they want to. Remember when you were little, you used to, your mom leaves or your auntie or grandma leaves, you was told to clean the house up, and you better have everything clean when I come back. But no, you hanging out, you're halfway vacuuming, you might not do it right, and then before grandma or grandpa come home, now you try to do the dishes, you trying to straighten up everything because somebody's coming back to that house. But the Most High said, Yahweh said that we don't know when he's coming back to the house. So wouldn't it behoove us to keep the house clean as possible, right? And there might be a dish rag left up there or something. We tidy up, make sure it looks good. And it's a never-ending process, right? Read on.
At even, or at midnight, or at the cock crowing, or in the morning.
Right, so we don't know when the master of the house is coming back. But you knew what time grandma got off. Or auntie got off. Oh, she gets off at 12. She'll be here at 1:30. So let me just clean up now, right? But we don't know. So the Most High, Yahweh is telling us that watch ye therefore, for ye know not when the master of the house cometh at even, right? The master could come back at even, or at midnight, or at the cock crowing early in the morning. We don't know, right? So we must pray and we must watch. Go ahead.
Lest coming suddenly he find you sleeping.
Right. So you don't want to be caught sleeping, right? Not covered in the law, statutes, and commandments, unlearned, being a stranger to the Most High, right? Go ahead.
And what I say unto you, I say unto all, watch.
So he's telling everybody, Israelites, heathens, right? Those of us who are in the truth, simply watch. Everybody watch. Everybody pray. And a part of that is also taking up your nationality and putting back on your customs. That's the reason why we are in the feast and observing the Feast of Unleavened Bread, because we're waiting for the master of the house, right, to come back. So we must prepare ourselves to have our house in order. So when the master comes back, and this is just a parable, right? In this parable, the house is clean. It's acceptable, right? The messes are cleaned up. It's a clean house. And you can think about that spiritually when we're talking about the unleavened part of it, right? Because again, and just like the elders have said, just like we say, first and foremost, Israel is the only nation who pertaineth to the adoptions, the covenants, and salvation, right? So we must make sure throughout the year, right, we have different things going on. We have a nation that we're dealing with, and we know it's hard to deal with Israel sometimes. But that's why it's important for us to renew ourselves, just like the seasons are renewing. renew our relationships, renew our family bonds, and come back anew, just like the seasons, right? Not carrying. If you're a nation who has the law, statutes, and commandments, you can't be carrying grudges, etc. That's why it's important for us to go to people before the Passover and make things right. Right? Get that unleavened out, because a little leaven leavens the whole loaf, right? So these are important as a nation, and only Israelites carry those covenants and adoptions to do the house cleaning before the master comes back, right? And that's part of the curses, the grudges, the envying and the spitefulness and the everything that we do on the left-hand side. That's the curses. The Most High is saying you're not going to be living in the curses under these adoptions, because that's all it is you're living in the curses. And when you look at the moral laws, the civil laws, that goes into it, right? So we must renew ourselves. Now let's jump into the class. We're not going to be long. We are still in the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And I want to show you, we're going to talk, and of course we know what was going on in Egypt, but we're going to also take a look at what was going on in the New Testament around the Passover, right? It was heavy times. It was a lot going on in the nation. Yahushua was getting ready to be put to death and give himself up for the nation, but they still had to keep the Passover, right? So let's go to Exodus 12 and 13. Exodus 12 and 13.
The book of Exodus, chapter 12, verse 13. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where ye are.
Mhm.
And when I see the blood,
Mm-hmm.
I will pass over you,
Mm-hmm.
and the plague shall not be upon you
Right,
to destroy you.
right. Go ahead.
When I smite the land of Egypt,
Mm-hmm.
and this day shall be unto you for a memorial.
And what?
And this day shall be unto you for a memorial.
So the Passover was set as a memorial. Okay. Now this generation, we haven't seen the Most High moving that kind of power at all, because the Most High said, "What? I'm gonna turn and hide my face from you. I'm gonna go back to my place until y'all get it right." So we haven't seen that type of power since the Passover, right? Since Yahushua walked the earth, we haven't seen that real power. Yeah, we got prayer, we have hope, we have faith, but we haven't seen the Most High move His hand, right? So we're operating off of hope and faith. That's why we're keeping these laws, statutes, and commandments to the best of our ability. Read on. And this shall be a memorial. This was supposed to be kept from the time of the Passover to this very day, right? And you can blame the Roman Catholic Church. This is why you got Sunday worship. You know, you can blame Esau. Let's throw an Easter egg in there, and a bunny, and the bunny lays eggs, and they're gonna be different colors. Let's throw the financial part at them, right? So they're attacking us on every end, right? It's Sunday worship. Put on your brightest suit. Put your gaiters on with your brightest suit, right? And we do some of these things, we do some of these things without knowledge or without understanding, right? But we have that zeal, right? Just like when you go to the Christian church, they're gonna have lavender suits on tomorrow. They're gonna look real good. The colors is gonna be springy. They're gonna be fresh. People are gonna dress accordingly, right? Everybody's gonna look good, but they have no knowledge of what the Most High requires, right? They're not keeping the Passover. And when you read in the scriptures, when they kept Easter, and this is for the people online, Easter, that word translates to Hebrew to the Passover. They didn't keep Easter Sunday, all right? So we got to come back to this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Okay, read on. Read it from the top. Read that 14. We have 14.
Yep.
Read it from the top.
Yeah, read from the book of Exodus, chapter 12, verse 14.
Mm-hmm.
And this day shall be unto you for a memorial.
And this day shall be unto you for a memorial. Go ahead.
And ye shall keep it.
You shall what?
And ye shall keep it a feast to the Lord Yahweh throughout your generations.
Throughout your generation. So that means infinitely, right? That means from the point in time it was given in Egypt to this very day, throughout your generations, not for 10 years or not for 40 years. When y'all get out of the wilderness, y'all can do what y'all want to do. But no, throughout your generations. Go ahead.
Ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever.
Forever. So Passover is going to be a high holy day feast day forever. This kingdom and the next, there's going to be a Passover. So we might as well settle into it and enjoy it, right? And praise the Most High in it. Okay? Read on.
7 days shall you eat unleavened bread.
Right. And this is the feast of unleavened bread, because we know how we had to get out of Egypt in haste. We don't have to go over that again. We understand that. We was just at the Passover, right? We had to leave Egypt in haste. So they had to make unleavened cakes. And as a memorial, you're supposed to eat with your lunch, or you know, at some point in the day, in the feast, you eat some unleavened bread to remind you. And all praises to the Most High. He didn't say we had to eat the bitter herbs. You know, so it's set as a memorial. Go ahead.
Even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses.
Right, and we understand that. So the better preparers, I'll be honest with you, I didn't prepare as well this year. I'm usually pretty prepared. I go in a week early and I try to get all the stuff out. And luckily, we didn't go shopping, so I could do it right before I came over that Sunday to the Passover. So everything was out, cleaned out, put it in the bag earlier that day, moved it out, swept the house. My kitchen's not big. I can get to everything. I moved it out. Okay, I can put it in another car, put it in the patio stuff I want to keep. Just move it out. That's all you got to do. Okay, just move it out. That's all you got to do. And make sure you go back, double check. If you have, maybe you went shopping, maybe you had to throw away that new ketchup you just brought. I've been there. or that new baking powder you just brought. You got to throw that out, or not throw it out, or maybe you go put it in the car or something. You know, or that wine you just brought. You got to go put that in the car, put it in the garage. But it's also physical, but it's also spiritual, right? So that means, hey, that might mean you might have to go to a brother or a sister and say, you know, I got to talk to you before I go sit down in this Passover, right? I have some things we gotta clear up before I go sit down and take the Most High's Passover. Because there again, Israel is a nation who is not built on standing on 30-year wars and grudges. It's not going to happen, right? So you might have to go to a brother and sister and say, you know what? I apologize for this or that. And it might be hard, whatever the topic is or whatever happened, but you got to come to a conclusion to at least move forward or agree to disagree. But forgive and move on, because just like the new year, just like we brought in the new year, everything comes back anew. You should have a new spirit in you, right? Empty out all, and that's why the Most High made it a physical dumping of the leaven and a spiritual dumping of the leaven. Now, it all works together, right? Read on.
For whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day until the seventh day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel.
So the Most High put you on a little bit of a diet fast for that 7 days. And like we were just saying earlier, some of us can feel that change in our body. You can feel like the bloat coming. I don't feel as bloated, right? Because I've been eating unleavened bread, or I haven't been eating bread at all. I feel a little bit more clear, you know? So, and I appreciate that, you know, and you listen to your body and you understand how it works, and you see where the Most High is putting you and where he's taking you, right? And there's also the Most High shapes us up, whether we like it or not, just to dump out and cleanse ourselves. And that's just a small cleanse. There's different cleanses you probably do, or different things, juices you might take, or things you do throughout the year to cleanse, or you want to get more vitamins or minerals or whatever the case is. So you do that. But this is the Most High's high holy day and feast day. So we dump the leaven spiritually, physically for the Most High to remember what we had to do to get out of Egypt. The Most High left that as a memorial, right? Just like America is going to be left as a memorial, right? When it gets destroyed, yeah, America is going to be put down, right? And America's on a clock. We see the divisions on America, but we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about the Most High's Passover. There's going to be some memorials left, and not all memorials are good, right? They don't seem good. They don't feel good. Like America is going to be left as a burning memorial, right? All praises to the Most High, right? Go ahead.
And in the first day there shall be an holy convocation.
Right. So that first day is literally once you finish the Passover. That's why we take the unleavened bread right there, right? That's why the leavened bread is right there, because right when that sun goes down or that Passover comes in, you right in the feast of unleavened bread, right there, right up against it, right? And for the brothers and sisters who are having Passovers, I strongly urge you. I know we it's a feast day that we keep, and we like to have the libations there. Make sure you don't have any mainstream drinks there, just in terms of the stuff with the leaven in it. I'm not saying don't have a drink, don't bring in the wine. Just make sure it's all unleavened, because you're going into the feast of unleavened bread. So if you got Hennessy or you got things there that aren't kosher, you basically just put right back in the leaven, right? So make sure you have kosher, make sure it's unleavened, enjoy, celebrate. We here to do it for the Most High and put that effort in. That's all I'm saying, right? Go ahead.
And in the seventh day there shall be an holy convocation to
Right.
you.
So the first day and the seventh day, it's a feast day. It's a holy convocation, right? Go ahead.
No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you.
No, we're not going to eat. I ate it last night. Read that again.
No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you.
Right. So you have to take part of the feast of unleavened bread. You got to get some unleavened bread in your system at some point during that day, right? Whether it's a little bit, you might not like unleavened bread. Maybe you make some unleavened cakes. You know, you make some nice little pancakes, put some syrup in there, make them nice, get that sweetness with your meal, you know? And let me tell you, one thing that I'm realizing, one thing that is really hard, was really hard for me to give up this time around. Well, not hard, the hot sauce. Hot sauce. I put hot sauce on Red Rooster. I put that on almost everything. I'm telling you right now. And I've been eating. I'm like, okay, I wish this hot sauce, that's what got me this year. It was the hot sauce, because there's vinegar in there. Yeah, exactly. Vinegar. Right? So that was my thing. Right? Anybody else? Anybody got some go ahead.
If you like hot sauce, you can use cayenne powder.
Oh, just the powder, right?
Yeah,
Come. But
that.
yeah, but I like the vinegar.
Oh.
I like the vinegar.
You wouldn't even think about it. Just put that on and you have that hot flavor. And,
Come. It's not the heat that I like though in the hot sauce. You know what I mean? It's the bitter. It's the bitterness. Yeah. So that was what I had a little bit of thinking about, right? I was like, man, I wish I had some hot sauce on this. You know, but that's just me. Go ahead.
And ye shall observe the feast of unleavened bread. For in this selfsame day have I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt.
Right. So this same day, whether it was 4,000 years ago, what maybe 8,000 years ago from Egypt, the same day.
No. About 3,000.
3,000?
Yeah.
Out of Egypt?
Yeah, from the time of Egypt.
Okay.
From the time we came out of Egypt.
Okay. For the time we came out of Egypt, maybe 3,000 years.
3,000, close to 400 years, something like that.
Okay. 3,400 years, give or take.
Because from the time of the Assyrian Empire to now, it's 2,000, almost over 700 years.
Okay. Got you. I'm thinking about first and second day of Genesis, but okay. So that's roughly almost 3,000, 4,000 years, give or take, right? Coming out of Egypt. So the same day, even to this very day today, right? Because we're the only people subject to time, right? When you're in the flesh, you're subject to time. You think about how time works on you. The Most High doesn't think about how time works on you. Time doesn't exist to the Most High because he's a spirit, right? We think about how the body ages over time. Well, I can't jump like I used to. I can't do this the way I get out of bed. We're subject to time. So the Most High said from the same day. He looks at 3,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, like yesterday, right? Go ahead.
Therefore shall ye observe this day in your generations
Mm-hmm.
by an ordinance forever.
Nah, for just till you get out of the wilderness.
Ye shall observe this day in your generations
Mhm.
by an ordinance
It's
forever.
an ordinance. It's almost an order, basically, right? Drop that and let's go to Deuteronomy 16. Let's go to Deuteronomy 16. Deuteronomy 16 and start at verse 11.
Now the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 16, verse 11.
Mm-hmm.
And thou shalt rejoice before the Lord Yahweh, thy most high omnipotent power, thou and thy son,
Mm-hmm.
and thy daughter, and thy manservant, and thy maidservant,
Right. And read that again. Thy maidservant and thy manservant, right? Go ahead.
and the Levite,
And the Levite.
that is within thy gates,
Mm-hmm.
and the stranger.
Right. And the stranger. So regardless of who you have in your household, they have to observe the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the Passover. The people who are closest to you, even if they are strangers, even if they're a manservant, maidservant, right? If they're in your gate serving you or they work for you, they have to observe too. They're not exempt, right? Go ahead.
And the fatherless,
Mm-hmm.
and the widow that are among you,
Mm-hmm.
in the place which the Lord Yahweh, thy most high power, have chosen to place his name there.
Right. So just like people, they get out there, they got Easter on their mind tomorrow. They got bunnies on their mind tomorrow. They're gonna do Easter dinner tomorrow. You know how I'm not doing. He's gonna do a little Easter dinner. I'm in my family's group chat. They just gonna do a little Easter dinner. Not doing too much tomorrow, right? So just like they do Easter dinners, they're just gonna do a little something. They might not even go to church, but they're gonna do a little Easter dinner, right? So they're also unknowingly participating in religion. Even if you don't think about it, we're just gonna do a little Easter dinner. That's all. We're just doing that. They're participating. They're participating. So why not try to do it the right way? Go ahead.
And thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in Egypt.
Right. So this is done in remembrance, right? That we were in bondage in Egypt. That's it, straightforward. It's set as a memorial, right? In order to keep Israel on point. Because when we leave this captivity, you're never going to want to go back again to any type of captivity. Right? And that's like the scriptures say. If somebody's going off, at that point in time, if somebody's going off, you got to be the first to lay your hands on them. Because you don't want that to spread. You want that to be stopped. Right? Because if you think about the bondage you were in, you're not going back. Right? Go ahead.
And thou shalt observe and do these statutes.
Mm-hmm.
Thou shalt observe the feast of tabernacles 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
After that, thou hast gathered in thy corn and thy wine.
Drop that and go to 16.
Verse 16, Deuteronomy 16, verse 16. 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord Yahweh.
Right. So
thy most high power.
to the best of your ability, right? You have to gather wherever you gather in to observe the Most High's Passover. Wherever you can gather, the Most High said there's 3 times a year that the men have to come up, the women as well. You got to come up and observe, whether you like it or not. You got to gather. Just like if there was a small family, you might have gathered with the neighbors, right? You got to gather 3 times a year. And what are those high holy days you got to gather? Which are those? The Most High is not playing with.
Hold on.
Go
3
ahead.
times in a year, 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord Yahweh, thy most high power, in the place which he shall choose,
Mm-hmm.
in the feast of unleavened bread.
Right. So think about that. When we get back into the land, right, there's going to have to be people coming from all over the world to go to Egypt. I'm not Egypt, but to Jerusalem, right? Regardless of where you at in the earth, You're gonna have to come back up there. Well, I'm not going up there to sit with them niggas. No, you going up there. You going up there, whether you like it or not. Right, go ahead.
And in the feast of weeks,
Because remember, we're gonna have to teach the nations. Right? We're gonna have to teach the nation. Because this is strange right now. This is strange to all the other nations right now. This is strange. Go ahead.
and in the feast of tabernacles,
And tabernacles, right? Go ahead.
and they shall not appear before the Lord Yahweh empty.
Go ahead.
Every man shall give as he is able,
Mm-hmm.
according to the blessings of the Lord Yahweh thy power, which he hath given thee.
Right. The Most High said, just like you don't want people coming to your house empty-handed, bring something, or bring a little bit, bring something, so we can eat on it. Ring the doorbell with your elbow. Right? Right? So the Most High says, bring something if you can, to the best of your ability. Go ahead.
Judges
Jump
and
there.
officers shalt
to
thou
20.
make
Jump to
thee
20.
in all thy gates.
Jump to 20.
Or jump to 20?
Yeah.
Verse 20. That which is altogether just shalt thou follow,
Mm-hmm.
that thou mayest live
Mm-hmm.
and inherit the land which the Lord Yahweh thy power giveth thee.
So we're doing this to inherit the land that the Most High is going to give to Israelites. Right? Read on.
Thou shalt not plant thee a grove of any trees near unto the altar of the Lord Yahweh, thy most high power, which thou shalt make thee.
Drop that. Let's go to Luke 22:1. Now I'm
That
gonna
book
try
of
to-
Luke.
and I'm not going to be too much longer here because we know what the feast is. I just want to touch on why we're doing it. Of course, we're still in the feast and what's required. Go ahead.
That book of Luke, chapter 22, verse 1. Now the feast of unleavened bread drew nigh,
Mm-hmm.
which is called the Passover.
Right. So here it is now. The destruction of Jerusalem is happening. Right. Go ahead.
And the chief priests and scribes saw how they might kill him,
Mm-hmm.
for they feared the people.
And just thinking about this we know that Yahweh Shai was the Passover, right? At this point. But this is what's going on around the Passover. So look at the issue that was happening around the Passover. You're supposed to be getting rid of the unleavened bread or the unleavened, the leaven out of your spirit and physically. They're talking about killing somebody, right? Go ahead.
Then entered Satan
And then
into
entered who?
Judas. Then
Uh-huh.
entered Satan into Judas, surnamed Issachar, being of the number of the 12.
Now you got demons entering in and around the Passover, right? They're not chilling back, hanging out. Passover. I'm a demon. Let me go jump in there too. Let me go cause some problems. I'm coming to the Passover, right? Go ahead.
And he went his way and communed with the chief priests and captains,
Mm-hmm.
how he might betray him unto them.
Right. Go ahead.
And they were
They
glad
were glad, right? Go ahead.
and covenanted to give him money.
We'll take that. Okay.
They made a covenant, like an agreement.
Right. They made an agreement, right? So around the Passover,
Yeah, right.
you got chief priests and scribes covenanting on how to kill a man around the Passover, right? They're supposed to be thinking about the Passover. That was written in Moses. They're looking to kill somebody. Go ahead. This is how wicked our people were.
And he
Go ahead.
promised, and sought opportunity to betray him
So he was looking for opportunity to betray Yahushua. Go ahead.
unto them in the absence of the multitude. Then came the day of unleavened
And
bread.
then came what?
Then came the day of unleavened bread, when the Passover must be, killed.
And this just goes to show you how wicked our people were and can be, right? So here it is. You're supposed to be purging the leaven out of your system and spirit, and they talking about killing somebody. And now the feast of unleavened bread is coming in, right?
And notice he's
Go
doing
ahead.
he's doing around the Passover too.
Right.
And those spirits start to be activated.
Exactly. Right. So Satan came into Judas. He showed up. Right. Drop that. Go to 1 Corinthians 5. First Corinthians 5 and go to 7.
That book of 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 7. Purge out therefore the old leaven.
And these aren't new scriptures. We go over this all the time. We got to purge out that old leaven.
That ye may be a new lump,
Go ahead.
as ye are unleavened.
You're physically unleavened because you haven't been unleavened, right? And spiritually, you should be working, praying to be unleavened as well, right? Go ahead.
For even Yahushua our Passover is sacrificed for us.
And Yahushua, we know, was the Passover, right? For the nation. That was the ultimate Passover for the nation. So we have to observe the Passover, Feast of Unleavened Bread. Go ahead.
Therefore, let us keep the feast, not with old leaven, neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness.
Because you see what Judas Iscariot did. You see what the chief Pharisees and scribes did. They running around trying to kill somebody, making covenants for money. And then the Feast of Unleavened Bread came in. Right? Go ahead.
But with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth.
So you must come to the feast in sincerity and truth. Right? And again, this is one of the top 3 high holy days. Like the Most High said, you must appear. Okay? In what?
In sincerity and truth.
With the leaven, Slakia. Therefore, let us keep the feast, not with old leaven, neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. And these are the things we should be thinking about while we're in the feast day, right? It's how we can become better. What can we do to get better each year? Go ahead.
I wrote unto you in the epistle not to company with fornicators.
Khan, drop that. And let's go to Acts 12 and 1.
In the book of Acts, chapter 12, verse 1. Now about that time, Herod the king stretched forth his hand to vex certain of the church.
Now you got Herod on the scene. All right. And nothing has changed. Right? These people start activating, these spirits start to activate right around the Passover. They want blood. Right? Go ahead.
And he killed James, the brother of John, with the sword. And because he saw it pleased the Jews, he proceeded further to take Peter also. Then were the days of unleavened bread.
So this was going on again around the Passover. Right? You see that? And because, verse 3, and because he saw it pleased the Jews, so it pleased us. Right? Once again, he proceeded forth to take Peter. So he's worked up. Let me take Peter now, because they love it, right? And this is right around the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And the Most High said we must come in truth and sincerity. Go ahead.
And when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison and delivered him to 4 quarterings of soldiers to keep him, intending after Easter to bring him forth to the people.
Right. So as you can see, there was a lot of events happening around the Passover. Right? A lot of stuff happening over Passover. And as we can see, they have after Easter here, right? But that word Easter translates in the Hebrew to Passover. Okay. And again, I just wanted to touch on some of the things that were happening around Passover, events that were happening. So people weren't always thinking about being unleavened, right? Our nation was also thinking about other things at the around the time of the Passover. That's why the Most High is so stringent on telling us that we must keep it to our generations, right? And it's a holy convocation, 7 days, right? Look at the state. Look at the state we were in. Look at what was happening in the nation at some points in times around the Passover. So that's why the Most High said it's an ordinance throughout our generations to keep in truth and sincerity, right? Read on.
Peter therefore was kept in prison, but prayer was made without ceasing of the church unto the Most High power for him.
Right. Drop that. And let's go to Acts 20 and 6.
The book of Acts, chapter 20, verse 6. And we sailed away from Philippi after the days of unleavened bread, and came unto them to Troas. In 5 days, where we abode 7 days. And upon the first day of the week, when the disciples came together to break bread, Paul preached unto them, ready to depart on the morrow, and continued his speech unto midnight.
Right. So even Paul, whenever he got to a place and the feast came around, maybe you had to keep it wherever you was at. Maybe you couldn't get to Jerusalem, so you kept it. That's why the Most High said you must gather where you at, right, and keep the feast, right? So you couldn't make it to Jerusalem every time, but there were Jews obviously scattered. They still had to keep the Passover. It doesn't matter where you were in the earth, right? You had to make it a holy convocation. Shalom, right? And these are the examples we must follow, because as you can see, the apostles, right? You can see the saints, they're still keeping the Passover that was written in Moses to the best of their ability. Here's Paul saying that wherever he was at, right, when he came to Troas, in 5 days where he abode 7 days, they also kept the Feast of Unleavened Bread there. Okay?
And mind you, that was after Yahushua.
Right. After the official Passover for the nation, he still kept it. So it's an order throughout our generations to this very day, right? And from there, let's go to Ezra 6 and 22. All right, back there.
The book of Ezra.
I'm trying to say this too.
Come on, go ahead.
For the listening, Troas was in the era of Asia Minor, which is called Turkey today. That's where it was located. So Paul was up in Turkey keeping the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And mind you, Turkey is a good way from Jerusalem.
Right.
It's up north. That's a good way.
Right. So maybe they couldn't get back there fast enough, right? To keep
Because
it.
a lot of churches, the 7 churches was up in that area.
Right.
In Asia Minor.
Exactly. So they kept the Passover. Go ahead.
Read the book of Ezra, chapter 6, verse 22. And kept the feast of unleavened bread 7 days with joy. And the Lord Yahweh had made them joyful, and turned the heart of the king of Assyria unto them.
Right. Now let's look at this again. So again, this is another event where the Israelites are simply just keeping the Passover. And the Assyrian king, who's got nothing to do with the Passover, he showed them favor. Read that again.
And kept the feast of unleavened bread 7
Hold on,
days
read
with
it.
joy.
It's like you start at 21 for context.
We're in the book of Ezra, chapter 6, verse 21.
Mhm.
And the children of Israel, which were come again out of captivity, and all such as had separated themselves unto them from the filthiness,
From the what?
and separate themselves unto, excuse me, let me start again. And the children of Israel, which were come again out of captivity, and such as had separated themselves unto them from the filthiness of the heathen.
Right. Ezra said the
Of the land.
filthiness of the heathen. And we know that you don't have to say it. The heathen, these filthy people, man. For all the things we have to wake up to here in America, which is the ultimate cesspool, right? This is the ultimate cesspool of filthiness right here in Babylon the Great. And you see it every day when you walk outside, right? So all praises to the Most High that this place is dividing up and they get ready to tear themselves apart, right? Because it's wickedness. It's polluted vilely. Go ahead. And there's nothing good that comes from living around the heathen, man. Nothing. Go ahead.
To seek the Lord Yahweh, the Most High Power of Israel, did eat, and kept the feast of unleavened bread 7 days with joy.
With what?
And kept the feast of unleavened bread 7 days with joy. For the Lord Yahweh had made them joyful, and turned the heart of the king of Assyria unto them.
Right. So even now, you have the other nations turning their hearts back to Israel. Right. So maybe he didn't know what was going on, or he knew that since they were coming out of captivity, he's going to show them some favor. So now even the Most High put the spirit on the other nations to show Israel favor coming out of captivity. Let them keep the Passover. That power is a good power, right? So whatever he did it for the Israelites. And he's a heathen. Go ahead.
To strengthen their hands in the work of the house of the Most High Power, the power of Israel.
There you go. Plain and simple. All right. Drop that and go to Genesis 19:1.
The book of Genesis, chapter 19, verse 1. And there came 2 angels to Sodom at even, and Lot sat in the gate of Sodom. And Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, Behold, now my Lord Adonai turns in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early, and go on your ways. And they said, Nay, but we will abide in the street all night.
Right, so here's the 2 angels coming on the scene before they get to Sodom and Gomorrah, right? And he's obviously getting ready to tell Lot what's getting ready to go down, right? We're about to tear this place all the way up. But watch this, right? Read verse 2 again.
Out of Genesis 19, verse 2.
Let's start from the top again.
Genesis 19, verse 1. And there came 2 angels to Sodom at even, and Lot sat in the gate of Sodom. And Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them.
Now Lot gets up and meets them and greets them, salutes them, right? Go ahead.
And he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, Behold, now my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house.
Come on in, tarry a little bit, right? Go ahead.
And tarry all night, and wash your feet.
Clean up. Go ahead. You've been on a journey. Go ahead.
And you shall rise up early and go your ways.
So come in, I'll keep you. You coming in, and then y'all can break out tomorrow, right? Wash up, sup with me, break bread with me. Go ahead.
And they said, Nay.
They said, Nah. Go ahead.
But we will abide in the street all night. And he passed upon them greatly. And they turned in unto him and entered into the house.
So he said, No, y'all don't have to just stay in the street. Come on in. I got space. I got, 2 spare bedrooms. Come on in. Just come break bread. Go ahead.
And he made them a feast and did break unleavened bread.
Did what?
And did break unleavened bread, and they did eat.
Right. So we know what events came down the line. And I'm not saying, and this just goes back to show you, we was always dealing with the unleavened bread, right? We was always dealing back in Genesis with the unleavened bread. And you know what came after that? When them two angels got busy, after the Sodomites was beating on the door, right? So he made them a feast and baked the unleavened bread. So we was always dealing with the unleavened bread, right? Go to Luke 22 and start at 4.
That book of Luke.
You know, I didn't make, and this wasn't going to be a long class. We know what feast day we're in. I just wanted to show some examples of some of the events. Go ahead, Ben. You got something?
What you just read there, that was in what? Genesis? What?
That was Genesis
19 1
1
and 2. 1, 2,
through 3.
1, 2, and 3.
And that was during the time of Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure Abraham was keeping the Passover and the Feast of
Oh.
Unleavened Bread.
There you go. Wow,
Wow.
that's powerful. That's amazing. Okay. So again, nothing new. Going back, unleavened bread. That's deep right there. Wow. Go ahead. This is open forum. Open forum.
Because Lot learned everything from his uncle. Because remember, he left with Abraham. They left all their family and he took his nephew with him. So Lot learned from Abraham how to walk with the Most High.
Con. Yep, that's a good point. A good statement. So we always had these things with us, and whether it was apparent or not, the Most High always had it set up for us, right? To observe the high holy days, whether we knew it or not, right? Or whether it was spoken of, the water, right? Throughout your generation. So it didn't stop in the time of Moses. It didn't stop after Yahweh Shai was slew, right? It didn't stop last week or last year. Now we Christians 200-300 years ago. It's an ordinance until this very day, right? Go to Luke 22 and start at 4. And I'm almost done. This wasn't, unless anybody else has any scriptures, this wasn't going to be too much of a long class.
Read that book of Luke, chapter 22, verse 4. And he went his way and communed with the chief priests and captains, how he might betray him unto them. And they were glad and covenant to give him money. And he promised and sought opportunity to betray him unto them in the absence of the multitude.
And this just goes to show us that so much happens around the time of the Passover, right? And I know we like to worship and we like to praise the Most High. We uplift the Most High. But as we can see in the nation, there was always so much going on around the time of the Passover. So our nation, we wasn't all the way thinking unleavenedness, truth and sincerity, treat our neighbor as good as we can, brotherly and sisterly love, right? Israel are some of the worst people on this earth, right? But we're also the best people on this earth, right? So it just goes to show how much the Most High loves us and cares for us, even in our wickedness. He wants us to be that righteous cloth that he is called upon, that righteous remnant, right? Because you can see, we was always doing something around that time of the Passover. Satan came in to the Passover, right? He's in there. So it's a place to gather so things can happen. A lot goes on around the Passover. Feast of unleavened bread, right? It's eventful. It's actually eventful. If you think about the first time in Egypt, it's a huge production event, right? It's a huge event. So something's always going on around the time of the Passover. That's why it's important. The Most High said to purge that leaven, because just like the children of Israel, when Moses saw the lamb, but he couldn't go in it, but the children went in, right? The Most High is purging that leaven out of us, out of our people. And that could also be some people, right? So it's important that we approach these things in truth and in sincerity. All right, go ahead.
Then came the day of unleavened bread,
Mm-hmm.
when the Passover must be killed.
Mm-hmm.
And he sent Peter and John, saying, Go and prepare us the Passover, that we may eat. And they said unto him, Where wilt thou that we prepare? And he said unto them, Behold, when ye are entered into the city,
Mm-hmm.
there shall a man meet you,
Right. So this is Yahweh Shai telling them, look, when y'all get into the city, there's going to be somebody who's going to meet y'all there. All right, go ahead.
bearing a pitcher of water.
Mm-hmm.
Follow him into the house where he entereth in. And ye shall say unto the good man of the house, The master saith unto thee, Where is the guest chamber,
Mm-hmm.
where I shall eat the Passover with my disciples? And he shall show you a large upper room furnished.
Mm-hmm.
There make ready. And they went and found as he had said unto them, and they made ready the Passover.
Mm-hmm.
And when the hour was come, he sat down, and the 12 apostles with him. And he said unto them, With desire, I have desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer.
Right. So he knew he was going to have to give himself up for the Passover of the nation. Always something going on around the nation right before Passover. It's an eventful thing, right? Go ahead. And there's a lot of transition and a lot of stuff that happens, right? Go ahead.
For I say unto you, for I will not any more eat thereof until it be fulfilled in the kingdom of the Most High Power.
Mm-hmm.
And he took the cup and gave thanks and said, Take this and divide it among yourselves. For I say unto you, I will not drink of the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of the Most High Power shall come.
Right. So he's telling his 12, he's like, listen, I'm just getting ready to, before I suffer, this is what we're going to do. And I'm not going to drink of the wine until we get into the kingdom, right? Because they knew that he was the final Passover for the nation of Israel. Always something going on around the nation, right? Go ahead.
And he took bread and gave thanks and brake it and gave unto them, saying, This is my body, which is given for you. This do in remembrance of me.
And what?
This is my body, which is given for you. This do in remembrance of me.
Right in line when you came out of Egypt for the Passover. You did it in remembrance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. And this is Yahweh Shai saying the same thing. This is my body, which is given for you. This do in remembrance of me. Read on.
Likewise, also the cup after supper, saying,
Mm-hmm.
This cup is the New Testament in my blood,
Mm-hmm.
which is shed for you.
Right. Go ahead.
But behold, the hand of him that betrayed me is with me on the table.
Right at the Passover. Always something going on around in the Passover. Right. Go ahead.
And truly the Son of Man goeth as it was determined. But woe unto that man by whom he is betrayed.
Mm-hmm.
And they began to inquire among themselves, which of them it was that should do this thing. And there was also a strife among them, which of them should be accounted the greatest.
Right. So now they're talking about who's going to be the greatest servant or the greatest apostle, right? At the Passover. So this is why it's important for us in remembrance to keep the Feast of Unleavened Bread without leaven. Love each other again as a nation because Yahweh Shai was the example, right? And again, we're the only nation that can't keep grudges, that has to go into the new year anew. Moral laws, civil laws, as a nation, this is what we must do, right? And this goes right in line with how to treat each other, how to love each other, and also how to keep the Passover in remembrance for what happened out of Egypt as a nation of people. Because you can't, if a nation's divided, you can't be a strong nation. How you going to run other nations and rule other nations and be the example if you're in disarray? Look at Esau and his kingdom. They're in disarray right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're divided. This is the deepestly I've ever seen them divided on many different topics and issues. It's beautiful.
Jordan,
It is
it's
beautiful. It's gonna
gonna
get worse.
worse. I know that's
Right?
right.
So now that Esau, they're finally dividing up, right? Left, right, tariffs, no tariffs. All this madness that's going on, they're losing a foothold. But this is not that class. So in order for us to be that example, these are the things we must do and focus on. And the Most High's got everything working in perfect order. Esau's where he needs to be, losing the foothold, and the nation of Israel are where we need to be, right? Coming back, waking up, brothers and sisters teaching, brothers on the highways and byways teaching, right? Rise and fall. It's a perfect balance. All praises to the Most High, right? So let it keep going. This is why the only weapons we have are spiritual, right? The Most High didn't say we was going to go grab 1,000 swords and then go get our own freedom. The saints are going to take the kingdom.
That's right.
Right? They're going to take the kingdom, but it's spiritual first. First is spiritual. Right? Drop that, reader. I got a few more, and I'm almost done. Luke 26:1.
Got a book
Hold
of
on,
Luke.
Slakia. Hang on, Slakia. What did I want? I think that was that. Oh, Slakia, 22. Jump to 26. Slakia, Luke 22 and 26. Hold on, let me see. Let me look at something. Let me see. To I don't know if I wanted 26. Okay, well, let's go here and I'll wrap it up. Let's go to the first book of Esdras and the Apocrypha, where I wanted from there. But this also just shows you too how grand the Passovers are. All right, this shows you how grand the Passovers were when we kept them in Israel. We were a nation. Right, just like Esau keeps 4th of July, they roll out the firecrackers on the river in the White House. They tune in all over the country, and it's 4th of July in New York, the Midwest, Oklahoma, New Year. Right, they roll it out like it's a big production. Let's see how they kept it in Israel. Go ahead.
First Esdras what?
First Esdras chapter 1. This is the book of First Esdras chapter 1 and verse 1.
Oh, one.
The Apocrypha.
Yeah, on top. In the book of Esdras, chapter 1, verse 1. And Josiah held the feast of the Passover in Jerusalem unto the Lord Adonai, and offered the Passover the 14th day of the first month.
You doing?
Having set the priests according to their daily courses, being arrayed in long garments.
So the priests had on garments, right? Go ahead.
In the temple of the Lord Adonai. And he spake unto the Levites, the holy ministers of Israel, that they should hallow themselves unto the Lord Adonai, to set the holy ark of the Lord Adonai in the house that King Solomon, the son of David, had built.
And if you look at that ceremony that the priests, the Levites had to go through to hallow themselves, it was a lot. To come clean before you come into the Most High's house and do the work, it was a lot. In some instances, they had to change. They had to change clothes, right? Before they did the service of the Most High. It was a lot of ceremonial preparation. Right? Go ahead.
And said, ye shall no more bear the ark upon your shoulders. Now therefore serve the Lord Adonai, your most high omnipotent power, and minister unto his people Israel, and prepare you all after your families and kindreds, according as David, the king of Israel, prescribed, and according to the magnificence of Solomon, his son,
Mm-hmm.
and standing in the temple according to the several dignity of the families of you, the Levites, who minister in the presence of your brethren, the children of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Offer the Passover in order.
In what?
Offer the Passover in order.
All right. So
And
the Most
make-
High kept everything in order. Everything is always done decently and in order. Right. That's why when you plan and prepare for the Passover, it has to be done in order. Right. So when we plan for the house of David, when we plan for the Passover, the planning can go from right after the Passover for what happens next year. Those talks start happening to 6 months out. I've seen it. It's a lot of preparation. It's always a topic because the time comes like that. You'll be out of a Passover. Next thing you know, 3-4 months has passed by. And now you got to start preparing. So it's always a preparation, timing, place, right? It's a lot that, and we gotta give the Most High a hand and give the brothers who actually in any congregation, any school who put that Passover on in order. It's a lot of work, right? Some of us, we come to the Passover, right? We attend, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work that brothers is doing to be up on the panel to get everything prepared. The sisters, wives, preparing. So it's a lot of work, right? And it's done in order, and that's how it should be done. Go ahead.
And make ready the sacrifices for your brethren.
So this is Ezra telling the Levites, listen, this is how it's going to go down, right? There's going to be sacrifices for your brethren, right? The Levite, that's a hard job. The Levites got a tough job. That's a tough. In the Old Testament, you read about how all the sacrificing had to be done. The altars had to be cleaned, right? The burning of the lambs, the rams, and the goats. That's a lot of work. To do that day in and day out. And here you got Israel bringing their sins, bringing goats and bringing everything. Oh, man. Yeah, take this. Thank you. Say a prayer for me. Right? They had to kill that animal, right? For our sins. And it'd be the work piled up. Go ahead.
And keep the Passover according to the commandment of the Lord our one, which was given unto Moses.
Go ahead.
And unto the people.
And we saw that in the Old and the New Testament, right? According to the commandment of the Most High, which was given unto Moses. Go ahead.
And unto the people that was found there, Josiah gave 30,000 lambs and kids.
So how many people could you imagine were there? 30,000 kids, and the kid is a baby goat, right? Lambs and kids, right? 30,000 lambs and kids. Read on.
And 3,000 calves.
Mm-hmm.
These things were given of the king's allowance, according as he promised, to the people, so the priests and to the Levites.
Mm-hmm.
And Hilkiah, Zacharias, and Celius, the governors of the temple, gave to the priests for the Passover 2,600 sheep and 300 calves.
Right. So these are the animals that are given to the priests in order for the Passover. Right. It's a lot of that 2,000 goats and sheep. What does that herd look like? That's a large herd.
That's a lot of butchers to clean and do that.
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
And that created work for farmers, not for the butcher, for the tanner.
Mm-hmm.
It created work for everybody.
Right.
And you need a whole crew of men to do that.
You need a round-the-clock crew.
Round the clock, yeah.
So it was a heavy task to keep up that work.
Maintenance crew to clean up all the blood and all that stuff.
Exactly. Like a nonstop butcher shop, right? But it's what was in order for the Passover. Read on.
And Jeconias and Samias and Nathaniel his brother and Asabias and Achiel and Joram, captains over thousands, gave to the Levites for the Passover 5,000 sheep.
Right, now this is a grand Passover going on, right? This isn't a small Passover or a small party, obviously with a number of goats, sheep, kids, right? It's for the nation. Go ahead. Con. Go ahead.
Captains over thousands gave to the Levites for the Passover 5,000 sheep and 700 calves. And when these things were done, the priests and Levites, having the unleavened bread, stood in very comely order according to the kindreds.
Right. So they knew how to do this, right? And they did it in order. They had the unleavened bread. They stood doing their job in order. Go ahead.
And according to the several dignities of the fathers before the people, to offer to the Lord Adonai, as it is written in the book of Moses. And thus did they in the morning, and they roasted the Passover with fire.
Right. Go ahead. So you got to cook all that food, got to be cooked.
And as for the sacrifices, they served them in brass pots and pans with a good savior.
Right. So they had all these brass pans, pots, right? You got to butcher the animals, clean them up, clean them out. Then you got to break that meat up, right? You want it nice and tender. You put it in brass pots, put it on plates because it has to be served, right? Go ahead.
And set them before all the people. And afterward, they prepared for themselves and for the priests, their brethren, the sons of Aaron. For the priests offered the fat until night, and the Levites prepared for themselves, and the priests, their brethren, the sons of Aaron. The holy singers also, the sons of Asaph, were in their order, according to the appointment of David, to wit, Asaph, Zacharias, and Jethiam, who was of the king's routine. Moreover, the porters were to every gate.
So now you have porters at every gate. You got people on post, right? It's in order now. Go ahead.
Moreover, the porters were at every gate. It was not lawful for any to go from his ordinary service.
So now you can say, you know, I've been working 8 hours. I'm leaving, right? So it was lawful for them to stay on post and in order. And what happens after the Passover? After that Passover is done, all the bones, the lamb, everything's got to be roasted. It's got to be put on fire. And if you know anything about burning that lamb, it takes a long time. That carcass, the bones, everything, it takes a while. So they're there now. They're there burning all the remains, like the Most High said, for that sweet savor that goes up to the Most High. Right? So they're there. They're around the clock. So now the Passover is done. Now they're talking about after Passover. You couldn't leave your post. You've been there 8 hours. Oh, man, I'm tired. I want to go to sleep. Right? So they're still working to clean up the Passover and burning all those carcasses. Go ahead.
For their brethren, the Levites, prepared for them. Thus were the things that belong to the sacrifices of the Lord Adonai accomplished in that day, that they might hold the Passover.
Go ahead.
And offer sacrifices unto the altar of the Lord Adonai according to the commandment of the king Josiah. So the children of Israel, which were present, held the Passover at that time, and the feast of sweet bread 7 days. And such a Passover was not kept in Israel since the time of the prophet Samuel. Yet all the kings of Israel held not such a Passover as Josiah, and the priests and the Levites and the Jews held with all Israel that were found dwelling at Jerusalem.
And with that, that's pretty much the end of this class, but you can see how much goes into that Passover and how much order there has to be in it, right? And as it says here, that was one of the grandest Passovers ever kept in Jerusalem at that time. So it's going to be bigger than Esau's New Year. It's going to be bigger than the 4th of July. It's going to be one of our main high holy days, and we're going to be able to rejoice the right way in that time, in the kingdom, right? And that's where our hopes, our faith, that's where everything needs to be pointed towards, and that's why we keep the feast, right? The Most High has us here, gathered here. Yahweh, go ahead. You got something?
Yeah, I just want to say,
Open forum.
The fact that they had singers there. So they had the entertainment there.
Right.
And the wasn't karaoke night.
Funny.
Sing.
Come.
So if we have the talent, we need to promote it, we need to produce it, and we need to let it happen. Because it helps, it adds to the festivities, it adds to the Most High's holy days, and it adds to the unity of the nation.
Con, that's a very good point, and I'm glad you brought that up. So at the point, we had the brother who read the poem. There's somebody else with the hand raised? Oh, Sister Con, Slakia, go ahead.
When they said 5,000 sheep, they have, how many people do you think that's? Right?
That had to be,
A lot of people, man.
and that's only at Jerusalem.
Yeah. He's probably looking at probably maybe like, that's like almost 100,000.
Yeah, I would have said 200,000 or 300,000, but yeah, maybe 100,000. Yeah, that's probably being light.
Because wasn't this the Passover after they made the temple? With Ezra, made house to build the temple.
Yes, yes,
This is when he was
That-
given leave to go and build.
right. Con, yes, and they were free to do it. More importantly, right?
So they were in captivity at the time.
Exactly.
Allow him to go and oversee the building of the temple, and also make it so that all of the construction equipment that was needed was given to them to do it. Furnish them all the gold and everything to pay for it.
Exactly, and that's why they came out in such order, and they were free to do it. More importantly, you had the time. Now you're on your own time, so that's why it's one of the grandest Passovers that Jerusalem has ever seen since we've been out of captivity or back in captivity, right? So we're here in observance, and to Yahweh's point, and this is why also we had brothers who had poems at the Passover, right? Had a beautiful poem. The brother Jeremiah, he also comes into the house of David with different poems, and they're powerful, right? So if you have any talent, I guess, if you play an instrument or can sing, right, it's all to uplift the Most High and for what He's doing. Because if you look around, you might as well forget about America. You might as well get your foot off of this boat and step into the next one, as they say, right? So, oh, Cyrus, yes, Cyrus. Okay, con. It's the Persians that, yeah, con. So it's a high holy day. We're here in observance. I didn't want to make it a long class. The topic is pretty straightforward. We were at the Passover. We're in the Feast of Unleavened Bread. We're observing tonight, and it continues on until tomorrow at even. Right, that's when we officially, with your families, right, you close Passover. With that, my name is Ainwa. This is the House of David, and that was my class.